Ladies and gentlemen, today I invite you to open your minds and your hearts to a truth that Napoleon Hill warned humanity about decades ago. Most people spend their entire lives working until the age of 65, only to reach the finish line with nothing to show for the years they traded away. Not because they lacked potential, not because they lacked opportunity, but because they were never taught how to use their minds, their gifts, and their time with purpose. Today's message is not meant to frighten you, but to awaken you. Your future is not determined by the job you work, but by the mindset you build. And if you truly listen, this message can change the direction of your entire life. Ladies and gentlemen, today I want to speak directly to your soul, because this message carries the weight of reality and the promise of transformation. Napoleon Hill warned us long ago that millions of people work tirelessly until the age of 65 and still end up with nothing. Nothing in savings, nothing in assets, nothing in security, and often nothing in terms of fulfilled dreams. Not because they were lazy or unworthy, but because they were never taught how to use their minds to create wealth and freedom. Hill believed that the tragedy of life is not that people aim too high and miss, but that they aim too low and hit. And today, I want you to break that cycle. Hill's first powerful idea is the power of financial awareness, and this is where most people stumble. They spend their lives earning money, but never truly understanding it. They work for decades, yet remain financially blind. Awareness means knowing exactly how much you earn, where it goes, and how to direct it toward building your future. Money slips away quietly when you are not paying attention. It disappears into habits, small decisions, and emotional spending. Hill made it clear, wealth is not about how much you make, but how much you keep and grow. When you begin tracking your finances, setting targets, and making intentional decisions about your income, you break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck trap that holds so many captive. The second principle is the importance of building assets instead of living only on a wage. Hill studied the richest minds of his era and discovered that none of them relied solely on a job. A job may pay the bills, but it rarely builds wealth. Time is limited. Your energy is limited. But assets, once created, keep working even when you're resting. Whether it's investing, building a business, acquiring property, or developing a high-income skill, assets multiply your effort. People end up empty-handed at 65 because they spent their life trading time for money instead of building something that grows without them. Hill reminded us, smart work creates freedom, not just hard work. To escape the fate of retiring with nothing, you must start creating streams of income that continue to flow long after the work is done. The third essential point is the power of lifelong learning. Hill often said that the mind is the only true source of wealth. A person who stops learning becomes outdated, undervalued, and trapped in the same opportunities year after year. Most people finish school and then stop growing. Yet the world around them keeps evolving. The jobs change. The economy shifts. New skills replace old ones. Hill taught that to rise above the crowd, you must continually sharpen your mind. Read, study, learn new skills, and reinvent yourself. Growing your knowledge increases your earning potential and opens doors that hard work alone never could. And finally, Hill emphasized the value of definite purpose, the driving force behind every success story. People who retire with nothing are often those who drift through life without a clear direction. Without a purpose, years slip by unnoticed. Goals give you focus. Desire gives you energy. Purpose gives you the power to push through obstacles. When you decide exactly what you want in life and commit to it with unwavering determination, you stop drifting and start designing your future. Purpose turns effort into progress and time into achievement. Ladies and gentlemen, your life does not have to follow the path that millions take. You are not stuck. You are not too late. You have the power to change the course of your future by changing the way you think today. Build your awareness. Create assets. Keep learning. Live with purpose. If you do these things, you will never reach 65 with nothing. You will reach it with pride, peace, and the results of a life lived with intention. Ladies and gentlemen, Let's dive deep into one of the most important truths Napoleon Hill ever taught, the power of financial awareness. If there's one principle that separates people who retire with peace from those who retire with regret, it's this one. Hill understood that most people spend their entire lives working for money, yet never learn how money actually works. They wake up, go to work, earn their pay, and spend it just as quickly. They repeat, and this cycle for decades, believing that hard work alone will save them, only to discover later in life that effort without awareness leads nowhere. Financial awareness is not about becoming a genius with numbers. It's about developing a relationship with your money that is intentional, intelligent, and empowering. The first part of financial awareness is understanding your cash flow. Most people know what they earn, but very few know where their money truly goes. Hill warned that money leaks silently through small habits, impulse purchases, unnecessary expenses, and emotional spending. You don't lose a fortune all at once. You lose it little by little, unnoticed, month after month. When you track your spending, you expose the hidden patterns that hold you back. You begin to see the difference between needs and wants, between investments and liabilities. Awareness stops the financial bleeding and gives you control over your future. Another aspect of financial awareness is learning the value of saving with purpose. Hill believed that wealth begins with disciplined accumulation, not saving for emergencies alone, but saving to invest, to grow, to build a foundation of freedom, too. Many people wait for the right time to save, not realizing that the right time is the moment they decide to take control. Even small amounts saved consistently become powerful over time. Purposeful saving transforms you from someone who reacts to life into someone who prepares for life. It builds confidence and security, knowing that you are not one paycheck away from disaster. Hill also emphasized the importance of understanding investments, because saving alone doesn't build wealth, growth does. Financial awareness means learning how money multiplies. It means educating yourself about assets that grow over time, whether it's real estate, stocks, a business, or developing a high-income skill that increases your earning potential. You don't need to become a financial expert. You need to become financially curious. Every question you ask, every book you read, every concept you learn becomes another tool that protects your future. Wealth isn't mysterious. It follows rules. And once you understand those rules, you stop fearing money and start mastering it. Finally, financial awareness means breaking emotional patterns around money. Hill understood that fear, scarcity, and poor habits shape how people use their income. Some overspend to feel good. Some avoid money conversations because they feel unworthy. Some distrust opportunities because they fear losing what little they have. Awareness helps you detach emotion from decision-making. You begin to view money not as a source of stress, but as a tool, a resource, a partner that can help you build the life you desire. Ladies and gentlemen, the power of financial awareness is not simply about numbers. It's about clarity, control, confidence, and freedom. When you understand your money, you gain the ability to direct it. When you direct it, you shape your destiny. And when you shape your destiny, you ensure that you will never reach the age of 65 with nothing. Financial awareness gives you the ability to live life on your terms with dignity, power, and purpose. Ladies and gentlemen, Napoleon Hill taught a truth that hits especially hard in today's world. If you want to rise above the struggle, you cannot depend on a wage alone. The importance of building assets instead of just working for a wage is one of the greatest financial lessons a person can learn. Thousands of people work honestly, faithfully, and tirelessly for decades, yet end up with little more than memories of a lifetime spent chasing paychecks. Not because they lack discipline or ambition, but because they were never taught the difference between earning money and building wealth. Hill saw that true financial freedom comes not from how long you work, but from what you build while you work. The first reality to understand is that a wage limits you, no matter how good the job is or how hard you work. A wage depends on your time, your energy, and someone else's decision to pay you. It is bound by hours, schedules, and ceilings. You can only work so many hours in a day, so your income will always be kept. Hill recognized that this creates a trap. You trade your most valuable resource, time, for something that disappears as soon as you spend it. And because time cannot be replaced, living on a wage means you must keep giving more of yourself just to maintain your lifestyle. The moment you stop working, the income stops too. That is why so many people reach their later years with nothing saved, nothing built, and nothing left but exhaustion from a lifetime of labor. Hill believed the solution lies in building assets, because assets break the cycle of trading time for money. An asset is something that continues to pay you, help you, or grow for you even when you are not actively working. Assets include investments, property, businesses, intellectual creations, and high-income skills. These are things that multiply your effort instead of trapping you in endless effort. While a wage only pays once, an asset keeps producing over and over. This is the principle that separates those who retire in struggle from those who retire in freedom. Another reason assets matter is that the world is unpredictable. Industries change, technologies evolve, companies rise and fall. A job that feels safe today may not even exist in 10 years. Hill understood that relying on a single source of income is one of the greatest risks a person can take. Assets act like financial armor. They protect you when times are uncertain and give you options when life shifts. Instead of facing layoffs, recessions, or emergencies with panic, you face them with preparation. Your assets work as your partners, supporting you when you cannot support yourself. Hill also taught that building assets is not only about money. It's about mindset and discipline. You must think like a builder, not just a worker. You must ask yourself, how can I make my money work for me? How can I create something that lasts? This mindset pushes you to learn, invest, grow, and take responsibility for your future. It inspires. I want you to step out of the comfort zone of routine and into the empowering zone of creation. With every asset you build, you become more independent, more confident, and more capable of shaping your destiny. Ladies and gentlemen, Hill's message is clear. Working for a wage may pay your bills, but building assets will build your life. Assets give you the power to stop merely surviving and start building a future where you are not chained to time or limited by income ceiling. If you want real security, real freedom, and real wealth, don't just work for money. Build something that outlives of your effort. Build something that works for you. That is the path to a future filled with strength, dignity, and abundance. Ladies and gentlemen, Napoleon Hill believed that the mind is the greatest source of wealth, and nothing proves this more than the power of lifelong learning. This principle has shaped every extraordinary achiever in history. Yet, it is the very principle most people abandon the moment they leave school. They graduate, get a job, settle into a routine, and slowly allow their curiosity, ambition, and intellectual growth to fade. Hill warned that this is one of the most dangerous mistakes a person can make, because the moment you stop learning, you stop growing. And the moment you stop growing, your opportunities, income, perspective, and potential all shrink right along with you. Lifelong learning begins with a simple idea. Your value increases as you do. The world changes rapidly. New technologies emerge. Industries evolve. Entire careers disappear, while new ones are born overnight. Those who continue learning stay sharp, adaptable, and relevant. They see opportunities others miss because their minds are trained to look forward, not backward. Meanwhile, those who cling to old knowledge fall behind because they never upgraded the one tool that controls everything in their life, their mind. Hill often said that knowledge is the starting point of every form of wealth, and the more you refine it, the more valuable you become in the marketplace, in relationships, and in life. Another reason lifelong learning is so powerful is because it develops self-confidence and clarity. When you continuously educate yourself, you begin to trust your judgment more. You make better decisions. You understand problems faster and find solutions easier. You become someone others look to for insight and direction. Hill discovered that confidence is not inherited. It is built through competence, and competence comes from learning. The more you know, the more you can do. And the more you can do, the more opportunities you create. People who reach the age of 65 with nothing are often the ones who stopped learning at 25. They stayed the same while the world around them moved forward. Lifelong learning also fuels new income streams and creativity. Hill studied hundreds of successful people and realized they all had one thing in common. They never stopped expanding their minds. They read relentlessly. They studied successful people. They experimented. They stayed curious. This curiosity led them to new skills, new business ideas, new partnerships, and new forms of income. When you keep learning, you activate your creativity. And creativity is the birthplace of wealth. It helps you see connections others overlook. It helps you solve problems that others avoid. It helps you innovate in ways that create lasting value. And perhaps most importantly, lifelong learning gives you freedom of choice. When you commit to self-education, you are no longer confined to one job, one skill, or one path. You can reinvent yourself anytime. You can change industries. You can pursue passions. You can create opportunities instead of waiting for them. Learning expands your world, strengthens your mindset, and keeps your possibilities open no matter your age. Ladies and gentlemen, Hill's message is clear. If you want a life of growth, stability, abundance, and purpose, you must become a student of life. Read books, listen to mentors, study your craft, learn about money, learn about people, learn about yourself. Because when you keep learning, you keep rising. The power of lifelong learning can transform your future, protect you from uncertainty, and ensure you never reach the later stages of life with regrets. Your mind is your greatest investment. Feed it, sharpen it, develop it. The more you learn, the more you earn, the more you become, and the more life opens its doors to you. Ladies and gentlemen, do not let your life be a story of decades spent working without reward. Wake up your mind. Take control of your finances. Build assets. Learn continuously. And most importantly, pursue your purpose with unwavering intensity. Your future is not written yet. You still have time to change the ending.